All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for coming. We appreciate it. My name is Andrew Davis. I'm the Director of Marketing Communications for Hilton Head, and I will be doing the songs of the 70s and 80s for you today. That's not today, that's tomorrow. Sorry. So, no, we have a very exciting day here and a very exciting announcement for you, and I'm not the one to make it. We've got some great people to do this instead who've been deeply involved in a program that's going to make a huge difference on the island. So, let me introduce first Mayor Alan Perry.
Thank you, Andrew. Good morning. Good morning, Hilton Head Island. This is a game-changing day for our community, and I'm really privileged to be up here to represent the town of Hilton Head Island and our council to make this announcement. I welcome you here today on behalf of the town council members and on behalf of the town of Hilton Head Island. Thank you to my colleagues, and welcome Mayor David Ames, Mayor Pro Tem David Ames, Councilwoman Tammy Becker, who's not here, Councilwoman Patsy Bryson, who is out of town, Councilman Alex Brown, who was tied up in a meeting this morning, Councilman Glenn Stanford, who is also out of town, and Councilman Steve Alford, who is here. And I don't see any other elected officials, but I want to welcome you all here today. We come together today to announce our next step in our workforce housing public-private partnership, a partnership that will provide a great neighborhood for our island's workforce. This announcement is a meaningful step forward to providing people who work on Hilton Head Island a restored opportunity to call Hilton Head Island home. Over the past many months, our town manager, Marc Orlando, Ben Brown, and the Northpoint Advisory Committee have examined 10 proposals and have come to a unified decision to move forward with a preferred team of professionals as a development partner. I have had the privilege of living on Hilton Head Island for more than 50 years. And to know that the town is now taking steps to address worker housing and to name a developer to change the narrative when it comes to workforce housing and to make sure that our essential workforce has a chance to be part of our island, family brings a smile to my face. I know that now more than ever, our future is bright. I want to thank the Northpoint Housing Advisory Committee for helping Marc identify the partner and the right team to work with. I want to thank Marc and thank you, Ben Brown, for the hundreds of hours you have put into this endeavor. I know firsthand how tough it has been since the idea of this public-private partnership has been discussed. They were focused on carefully finding a way to make this happen, to help the workforce on the island find a home, and now that vision is much closer to a reality. As a town, our goal is that Northpoint neighborhood gives hope that working and living on Hilton Head Island is a real and affordable possibility. And lastly, it's Hilton Head Island's goal that we set inspirational standards for workforce communities throughout the Southeast and the country, just as Charles Frazier did in the early days. I'll now turn this over to our town manager, Marc Orlando, to walk us through this opportunity and overview where we are in this development and partnership. Mr. Orlando?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here. I'm honored to be here with you. And know you're eager to hear about this future neighborhood for Hilton Head Island's workforce. It is really humbling to see so many people in the room, familiar faces, friends, folks that I've been working with for a long time, many years of my career. I also appreciate my wife being here to support me as well on this great day. So today I want to do a few things. I want to brief you on our workforce housing neighborhood, the public-private partnership selection process. I'll announce our preferred development partner. I'll share some details about the Northpoint site. It's a great site. Provide an overview of the workforce housing neighborhood goals, and I'll share with you our next steps toward project completion. As you know, some months ago, Town Council directed me to seek a workforce housing development partner that would bring a unique and high-quality team to Hilton Head Island. So a team of design, finance, construction, marketing, and program management professionals, property management professionals. Town Council put in place an advisory committee, Mayor mentioned that, to help me navigate this workforce housing development opportunity. And so many members of the committee are here today And I'd like to sincerely thank you and them for their time and their careful attention. So on that committee, Mr. Ames, Councilman David Ames is on there, Councilman Alex Brown, Councilman Glenn Stanford, but also Councilman Tom Lennox, thank you, sir. Kumar Viswanathan, Kumar's not here, but what a great help, and definitely Scott Weirman. And there's a few folks that are in this room as well that I've sat down with at coffee or lunch or breakfast and just picked their brains about housing, pro formas, the island, the housing opportunities, and so those folks as well, you know who you are. Thank you as well for that. The principal member of my team, Ben Brown, took the lead day to day, and so I really appreciate that. I'd like to thank Ben and recognize him today for his professionalism and the care that he's shown this project through the past month. So Ben, great job and thank you. You're great teammate. So, how'd we get here? After a public advertisement to seek a developer partner, we received 10 proposals from all over the country. We scored them for former developments, financing capabilities, company culture, an ability to regard the fabric of Hilton Head Island's environmentally sustainable design and development practices, an understanding of Hilton Head Island's unique workforce and unique housing challenges, an ability to create workforce housing programs tailored to our goals and needs. And that was a big part of what we were looking for. It all had to come together. So because of their proposal and successful interviews, and because of their ability to work with us, as I just stated, we've identified OneStreet Residential as our preferred developer partner. They're a great team. So what does this mean? It means they're a finalist in this process. It means that our search has narrowed it down to one finalist, and we'll work together over the next months in good faith to structure and implement a workforce housing neighborhood at Northpoint. So it's a critical milestone. We're not at the end of the road, but it is a very much a critical milestone in what is, as we know, an extensive process of creating workforce housing on Hilton Head through a public-private partnership, right? And of course, it's the first of its kind for us, for this town, it's the first of its kind. So I believe in OneStreet Residential, I believe in the company they have in place. A little bit about them. Their founder and CEO, Dave Dixon, has shaped the firm's growth and foreseen its development of over $1 billion in assets, including more than 8,900 residential multifamily units over time. Their strategy is centered around high quality, boutique scale properties, and they are one of the Southeast's leading developers and managers of workforce, active adult, and mixed income rental communities. So Dave's also on the board of the Georgia Affordable Housing Coalition, where he was a founding member. And so he's come to the table truly with a passion and understanding for workforce and affordable housing. I believe that OneStreet Residential values relationships and that this is not just a transaction. And that was very important to me. They want to be here. And they have a great track record, a very successful track record of financially sustainable projects with public sector and institutional support and partnership involvement. So, what are the goals? What will the project look like? A little bit about Northpoint. As you know, Northpoint to my left and right, it's an 11-acre tract of town-owned land. It was acquired in 2002. Total cost, total funds in approximately $1.4 million, and 400 of that was acquisition cost, and the rest is, or was, infrastructure work on behalf of the SCDOT. So our basis in the land years ago was about 1.4. It's less than 2 miles from the Hilton Head Island School Complex, and that was important to us as we looked through projects, and also the same distance to the Island Rec Complex. There's some infrastructure in place. We were trying to be out there today, but of course it didn't rain, but we thought it was going to. But there's a road network in place. There's utilities in place. It's bound by our neighbors, Marsh Point Apartments. It's bound by William Hilton Parkway, Jarvis Creek, and the U.S. Post Office. And so what's our goal? Our goal is to develop a multifamily neighborhood consisting of 1, 2, 3-bedroom apartments for our island's essential workforce. So what does that mean to all of you, to all of us? Caregivers, teachers, service professionals, first responders, medical professionals, and more. The project goals and negotiations underway are that at least half of the units will be for people and families that earn less than 80% of the area median income. So let me say that again. 50% of the project will be less than 80% of the area median income. 50% will be more. The neighborhood will support the people and family that make up our workforce. And so it'll be equally distinctive as a great neighborhood, but equally distinctive as a solution to living and working on Hilton Head Island. So I want to be clear. This will serve our workforce. I've had a lot of those questions along the way. There's a lot of programs out there where it's the project, the development is situated and factors in only income. This project will factor in, do you work here? And so the early standard is this: you must work here to live there. So this is a long-term commitment from Hilton Head Island that will last for decades. And I believe that this initiative is truly a testament to the forward-thinking vision of our Hilton Head Island Town Council. So I want to pause for a second and definitely say thank you and show my support and gratitude that we are in this place, because this is definitely a forward-thinking, great vision of a public-private partnership on Hilton Head Island. So what's next? Selecting OneStreet Residential as the finalist and as our preferred developer partner today is a critical step to building this great neighborhood. It allows OneStreet Residential, you'll start seeing activity on site. You'll see site due diligence, they'll start their preliminary site planning, engineering, architectural design, and other pre-construction activities. And so in about a half hour, they'll get started. This also starts the process of negotiating a development agreement. I've put together a draft development agreement. We've already got pretty far along with that. And it is subject to OneStreet securing financing. So they're gonna do their site due diligence, all their pre-construction work. They're gonna start costing out the project. And then all of it ultimately is, of course, subject to town council approval. And so I intend to have a development agreement prepared and delivered to town council within the next few months. And that will work toward an execution of the development agreement early and into the first quarter of 2024. So I've asked a lot. So what's next after that? We intend to have a shovel-ready site in place, a construction-ready site at the end of next year. So development agreement gets negotiated over the next few months. Council approves it, finish the design, permitting, right? Permitting is really the factor that will take some time, 4 to 6 months for land disturbance permits, 4 to 6 months for that civil work. And then we should have and will have a construction-ready site getting into this time next year. And so I'll say this, our objective at Northpoint is that we will serve the island's workforce at Northpoint forever. And so I make that commitment today. I want to thank town council. I want to thank the Northpoint Workforce Housing Committee and our island residents and businesses, and of course all of you here today. So I'll open it up to any questions from the media, and I'll call upon Mayor Perry to join me.
So you talk about this site being ready this time-ish next year. What is the intended completion date for the entire project?
Construction will take about 16 to 18 months, full cycle, but we're talking about phasing units in, so they'll be delivered prior to the 18-month schedule.
So a year after?
Yes, sir.
Talk about the intention to be to serve the workforce there forever. As you've just said, there are other projects that are more privately backed that town council's expressed some concern about how long those units would be targeted to certain AMI ranges of workforce housing. What's going to be built into the agreement on the town and the contractor side here to ensure that, okay, these are going to remain workforce housing?
Yeah, so I can't speak for town council, but what I'll bring to the table is a development agreement that has a lot of that baked in the agreement itself, as well as the covenants of the site. I don't intend to bring a deal forward that transfers our land, but I'd like to pledge our land through a long-term, very long-term lease with some benefit to the town on the back end. So covenants and agreements in place will definitely cover us in that regard.
Let's talk about this decision to make 50% for people that are making less than 80% of the median income. Number one, what is the median income here in Hilton Head? And number two, why is that 50% not larger? This is workforce housing, and only half really are gonna be for those that really need it.
Yeah, thank you for that question. A one-person Beaufort County area median income, one person at 100% is $77,900, almost $78,000. A four-person family at 100% is about $111,000. You asked the question of why less than 50, why 50% less than 80, I should say, because it's a mixed income community, and what we've set out to do is provide workforce options for that essential workforce. So nurses, early career nurses, early career firefighters, when you really look at that AMI range. Single people can afford the unit, they get married, they're now above a range above that 100%, and if we're really trying to serve this to the island's workforce, I think the project, the plan I intend to bring to the table serves the array and the continuum of incomes to a certain degree.
And remind me, you may have said this earlier, but how many units are y'all planning to develop here?
We still have to look at that, the site needs to tell us that, so as the preliminary site work is done and the architectural work is done, we have about 11 acres, and somewhere we'll find a comfort zone, 12, 14, 16 units an acre. And for a point of reference, the new Sea Pines homes, the ones that are built by the Sea Pines company, those are about 12, 14 units an acre. So we've got to, and I've said this, we've got to balance this project, right? It has to be a unique Hilton Head Island neighborhood that continues to set that standard, and it also needs to be a solution to workforce housing. So we've got to find that balance in between, and that's some of the work we'll do over the next several months.
We talk about the fact that the framework was approved in the last year. How big of a step is this moving forward on acting on that since we approved it?
And Tyler, it's a milestone day, right? You know, we all know what the financial markets have been doing over the last little while, just from a single family home mortgage standpoint. We continue to churn through, and what we're bringing forward with this project is a deal that doesn't have any federal dollars attached to it. There's no grant dollars waiting for it. And so this developer partner of ours have been working with their banks, their private equity to make sure that we can accomplish the initial project goals. So it's a big milestone. I wouldn't be here today if I wasn't very confident with where we are.
You mentioned that there's been about 1.4 from the town just getting the site and getting some infrastructure put in. Moving forward, is there expectation as that agreement gets worked out that there will be more town contribution, or will the partner handle the majority of that?
Well, yeah, $400,000 cash 20 years ago. We know what it appraises for today. And again, I mentioned that we intend to lease that property in whatever terms we need to. I'm not gonna get into the nuts and bolts or details yet of the development agreement. What is important though, is that a lot of this will be in front of town council in the coming months. And we'll make sure that all of those details are figured out at that time.
You know, we talk about how expensive it is to live on Hilton Head. I guess kind of talk to me about, how important it is to give an option for folks who work here, obviously, who can't afford it, as much.
Well, first of all, we know that housing is a national crisis, and workforce is a national crisis, and our cost of living is high, so we have got to be a fully integrated community whereby we have the ability to have employees here. We can't continually lose them, not only to off-island, but further inland to other opportunities that are existing. So our viability in our tax dollars are at risk by not having the proper employees in place. So having the housing here is the first step to making certain that we have those employees here for today and for tomorrow.
I'm sorry to keep harping on this, but I remember the Chimney Cove neighborhood had, I can't remember the exact number of units, but it was more than I think it was about 100 or so. Is 50% low-income residents enough to solve these problems?
No. There needs to be multiple tools in the box. This is one step to drive it forward. And for the project to be viable, it's got to cash flow in a certain way. So no, this is not the solution. This is just one item that we can put in the box to help drive employees and housing to our area. We need both we need public-private partnerships to make these these opportunities come to life. So to answer your question, no.
And let me ask you too, this is obviously a historic day for Hilton Head Island. This is the first time you'll have been this far in a project like this. What is it like for you as mayor to oversee, such a transformational project?
You know what, it's a group effort. It's not just me. It is town staff, it is council, it is the voice of the community, it's listening to everybody. This goes back to the whole group. Housing has been discussed for many years. And over the past 6 years, we've seen it decline, the availability decline. So from a standpoint of everybody working together to get us here today, it's a group win.
This is something that we've been talking about for a while, something we've been waiting on an announcement for a while. Just talk to us about the delays that took place and why we are here today.
Well, I'll address that a little bit. A quick answer is not always the right answer. So you've got to put in your time and effort and do your homework to make certain that you're doing the right thing for the community and that you're partnering with the right partners. And there's a lot of moving pieces that go into it, and to go through all the filters that you have to make sure that it's correct, it takes time. And this is a big project, and there's gonna be a lot of partners involved with this. And end of day, it's gotta be something that we are proud of, and also resembles our history going back to the Charles Frazier days that I stated earlier. We can create something today that can be a model for the rest of the country, just like was done back in the late 50s and early 60s. Why not do that and make sure it's done right?
And I'll jump in too.
Thanks, Tyler, for that question. It's good to address that today. 9 months ago, I started to work next to and with Mayor Perry on this project and a bunch of other projects. And so 9 months ago, in comes to us early December, but really getting going in January through our first strategic plan. It's been 9 months. I don't want to say only been 9 months, but to put a public-private partnership together like this, especially in the turbulent financial markets that we've all seen over the past bunch of months. The developer we are working with, has invested $1 billion of asset funds over time. So they're being very careful as well. They don't want to bring to a table something that is emotional, and they don't want to bring something to the table that will fail. And so that's why I say I'm very confident. It was a little more than a year ago that I talked with town council and said two things. One, we have a great piece of property at Northpoint. It was acquired with funds that allow for a reinvestment as long as it's aligned with our comprehensive plan. Workforce housing and affordable housing initiatives are aligned in our comprehensive plan. And I came to council and I said, we have this great piece of land, and thank goodness we received $5 million of American Rescue Plan funds, right? The COVID stimulus dollars. And town council pledged $1 million of those dollars into the project for road, water, sewer, stormwater, and perhaps broadband infrastructure. And so, walking into the room with the developer really started in January to start negotiating that, because until then, we were talking with all 10 companies trying to narrow it down. So I appreciate everyone's patience. This will take time. I've been in this business a long time. I would say that our tract builders take more time on their due diligence. It takes longer to subdivide your property. It takes longer to have your preliminary development plan work in place. It takes longer to go apply for federal dollars. And so I think this project is moving along very well in that regard.
So I know we're here talking about the Northpoint project. Y'all also have another project in the Spanish Wells area. I'm forgetting the road, but do you have any updates sort of on the timeline of that? I know we're in the very, very early stages of that particular project.
I can take that. So council has not had formal discussions on that property yet. So that will be forthcoming later this year and early next year. It's about getting one thing going first and then start working on other projects, but we've got to decide the direction on that.
Right, thank you all very much, and thank you, the public, for coming to Mark.